Hey guys, welcome back to another 3D printing video. And today we got a really special video because we are going to be unboxing and setting up the Mosaic Pallet 2. And if you've never heard of this thing, this could very well be the future of 3D printing and how we print different colors into one print. So ever since Mosaic announced the Pallet 2, I was quite eager to get my hands on this thing and try it out. So today we have it and we're going to be unboxing it, setting it up, and doing some prints with it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video, so let's get started. Alright, so I got this Mosaic Pallet 2 and I actually have the canvas hub also, but I think in this video we're just going to be looking at the Pallet 2 here because honestly I still have a lot to learn of what's going on and how all this works. But in any case, we're going to go through it together. What I'm most excited about is that we're able to use 4 different filaments with this machine to print a model. So this is the box that it comes in. You can see that, you know, it's not huge, it's reasonable size. So let's go ahead and open this thing up and see what it looks like. So I'm not too familiar with these guys, but I know they've been around for a little while because they do have earlier versions of this color extruder machine thingamajigger. So once we open the box, it looks like there's another box in here, and it's kind of looks like the retail box. Very nice. So yeah guys, there is a retail box inside of that box. That nice packaging. So we have the logo here up front. Here's some information on the side. So I guess Mosaic is a Canadian company. I guess that's what Toronto means there. And here's what's included in the box here. Some more nice splash of color. All right, well this is quite exciting. Let's go ahead and cut these seals here. So I guess you would open this up like when you get a new phone. You just pull on the top here. All right. All right, so here at the top we're greeted with the manual booklet. So it's a getting started guide, looks like. It's a really nice booklet. It's thick pages. So here it looks like we kind of have, you know, the overall things that are included and what everything's called, and kind of like the instructions to set it up. Really cool. So we'll go through this obviously in a little bit here. So let's go ahead and see what else is under here. All right, so here is the pallet. So this is probably not the best way to unbox it like this on its side, but for you guys to see better. So let's go ahead and pull this guy out of there. Wow, this thing is quite heavy. I did not expect it to be that heavy. It's actually very substantial. So let's go ahead and pull everything out of the box and then we'll look at everything a little closer. Okay, so this appears to be some plastic parts here, and I think this is for a stand, for a filament stand. This appears to be a mount. Okay, I think that's what that is, because here we have another bracket. Well, that's pretty cool. So if you wanted to hang this thing, you could. So here we have a couple boxes. It looks like a PTFE tubing. Actually, there's 2 of them. And we do have a few more things in there. Okay, so it looks like to be like metal rods. Or actually, I think they're aluminum solid rods. All right, and as you can see, guys, that's it for the box. And if you look at this foam here, you can see how nicely everything's packed. So thumbs up for the unboxing experience here with the box. Very nice. All right, so here we have all our parts laid out. And as you can see, there's not very many parts. Everything looks quite straightforward here. So let's go ahead and see what's in these boxes. So this is a lighter box. And in this box, we can see we have a 2 GB SD card. And I think this is made for the pallet because you will need 2 SD cards, one for your printer and one for the pallet. So here we have some kind of Velcro looking mount adapter or something. I'm not sure exactly what this is for, but maybe this has something to do with holding the tube. Well, we'll see, because that's what it kind of looks like. So maybe this is more like a retrofit, and it does have another little garment in there. All right, we'll see if we're going to need this. So here we have 2 little plastic tubes. Those are interesting. I'm not sure what they're for either, but maybe there's some kind of replacement parts. So here we have a USB to micro USB cable, we do get 2 really cool Mosaic stickers and a security type star little screwdriver. All right, so that's this box. Let's look in what's in this other box, and this one's a little bit heavier. Okay, so here it looks like we have power adapter options. Okay, and this is where our power adapter is. So this is what powers the Pallet 2, and it's a 12 volt 3 amp power supply here. So the US plug is already on here standard, but it does come with all the other adapters that fits depending on what, you know, country or part of the world you live in. So that's very cool that it comes with everything you need. And the cool thing about these, so there's a little button here you push and then you just click and twist off. And if you have this plug here, just clip it on and now you're, you know, using what you need. So very cool that they thought of this universal style. And I wish 3D printing companies would adopt something like this. They can just throw in a bunch of adapters and not try to worry about who gets the right one. But in any case, so we have the power adapter. So this USB cable must be for signal transfer or something like that. So yeah, guys, and as simple as that, that's pretty much everything here. So the spool holder mount is quite simple, looks like. I think you just stick these bars in here like that. So you'll stick 2 bottom ones in and then stick the other end in. And then you have the one left here that you can use. And that's removable, so you can hang all the 4 spools that you'll need on here. So this is quite simple and very nice that they include something to hold the spools. All right, guys, so let's get to the Pallet 2 itself. So this is quite a unique looking machine here. So here on the front, we can see, you know, we have a screen here. It's quite large. You can see my finger. So in the front here, it says Pallet 2. So if we go straight here to the front of it, we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 little dots, and those dots indicate that there's holes right here. And in those holes is where you're going to feed the filament in. And they're actually numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here on the front, looks like we have some rubber feet as we go down. So, and I'm guessing that's for sitting like this somehow. And obviously it can, you know, lay flat down like this also. So if we go to one of the sides here, we can see that we have a power on and off switch, the micro USB plug there, some kind of other plug there, and I think maybe that has to do with the canvas hub maybe, and that's the power socket there. On the other side here, we're quite plain, and then down here it looks like we have a vent. So if we go to the back, we can see this is where our SD card will go in, and here we have the main output hole. This is where your filament will come out already sliced and cut and ready to roll, and then it'll go through the tubing into the printer. And so on the bottom of the pallet here, we have nice little logo, 4 rubber feet, some more venting holes here, looks like mounting brackets, and there we have a little bit of info on the pallet. So quite a simple but very unique looking item here. So one of the things about this pallet is that the top plate here should pop right off, and you should be able to see, okay, it does, the internals. Okay, so it looks like a magnetic plate that just pops right off. And we have 4 magnets in each corner there. So if we take our plate off, here we can really see that the pallet is not something that we've seen before, obviously. This looks like quite a sophisticated extruder is what it looks like. So we got filament feeding in 4 places, here, 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 and here. And we have, you can see the little extruders right there inside of there. Quite interesting. So here we have some kind of belt-driven motor, I guess, that puts it all together. And the coolest part about this machine is this middle part here, and this is where the filaments are combined, I think, together. This is what it's called, the splice core. That actually sounds super cool. And so once it gets all spliced and everything, it goes in here, I think, and it goes in a loop, and then after the loop it comes out of the machine. Now the reason the loop is there, I think, is to, if there's any kind of, you know, slack or buffer that's needed for the filament, you'll be able to, you know, do that here in this extra buffering space. So very cool and unique, and especially awesome that they left that very easily accessible with just magnets. So I can see how most people would probably want that cover off. I sure like to see how this thing operates, especially for the first time. I guess eventually you could cover it and it looks quite clean. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this little plastic protector over the screen. So yeah, guys, this thing is quite impressive so far, and I'm super excited to hook this thing up and start using it. So I don't think the process is too complicated, but we'll go here step by step because, you know, I'm going to be learning here also of how to set this thing up. So here in the introduction, you know, they talk about how the pallet is able to receive 4 different filaments of 4 different colors and splice them all together and then send them out to your printer without needing any kind of modification to your printer. So it works together with the printer, making it very easy for anyone to use their own printer. So looking at the manual, one of the things I realized that this piece right here is actually a stand. Let's see. Okay, just like that. And there we go. So quite simple. And now the pallet is able just to sit just like that, without leaning. Very cool. And I think this is how we're going to probably keep it. So if you're interested in what the parts of the device do here, here's a little breakdown of all the things and what they do. And actually that was step 1 in setting up the pallet here. They kind of tell you there's a few ways how you can use the device itself. So for step 2 here, we have the choice of the larger or the smaller tube, which is included here, 2 different sizes. So, and these tubes are special, obviously. And the reason they're special is because they have 2 different ends here. So we have an end that's kind of like a, square, and then we got a tapered one. So the tapered one here will go into the printer side, and the kind of like the squared out one here, that will go into the pallet. And so we have a couple options of a longer and a shorter version. So part 3 here is the little Velcro universal mount here. Actually, what I thought this was the mount for the tube to feed into your extruder. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the tapered end of the tube and you're going to stick it in there just like that. So and this is the perfect length technically that it needs to know from the pallet to the end of this, and this holds it really well. As you can see, I'm pulling on it and it's not coming out easy at all. And the step 4 would be the spool holder that we already built. So here in the next part they kind of show you examples of how that would work and where you'd want to use the medium or the longer tubes. So more examples. And then here we have the starting your first print, and obviously this is where the software of the pallet tube comes in, and that's actually a crucial role in its operation completely. So there's the hardware side of it, which they simplified very well, and it's very easy to set up, looks like, and get going. But we also have the software side, which is actually called Canvas, and this is where you're gonna slice your model and prepare it, and then you're going to export it in 2 files, one for the pallet and one for your printer as normal. So for the next part, we're going to go ahead and set up, connect, and then slice our first model in Canvas and print it out. Alright, so I got everything laid out here on the table, as you can see. So we are going to use the Ender 3 Pro, and I feel like this is probably the best machine to use for this setup because, not only are we going to get good prints, but there's a lot of people out there that have this machine and probably would be, interested in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the spool holder here that I have because it's kind of, in the way here. And mine is just held by one T-nut here on top, and it just pops right out. And the reason we don't need that anymore is because our spool holder becomes here and then goes to the pallet, and then from the pallet we're going to go straight to the extruder right here. Now on the extruder is where it's going to get a little tricky. What I have here is a little 3D printed guide here with a metal insert. This is actually from camera hardware here, where the quarter goes to, I think, 3/8 to quarter adapter. So that's what I kind of used. And what's interesting is that this tube here that needs to go, somewhere around here, actually fits into here perfectly. Like I can screw that in there and it'll hold in there, which is kind of cool. But in most cases, what you're going to be using is this little adapter here. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out somehow to mount this thing somehow. So you might have to, print another guide here or something, or maybe you can mount it straight to this, but then we got the lead screw here, so it might be a little bit tough. But the most important thing to remember is that this needs to be anywhere. Like, it doesn't have to be here. It could be, here. You can put it right here if you want, as long as you can feed it somehow to that hole safely without, having too much of a bend. So for us, it's going to be quite simple, and I think we're going to be able to use the shorter one for sure. And all I got to do is I'm just going to stick it in there and turn it. Essentially, I'm just going to screw mine in just like that. We're good on that side and we're solid, where it's definitely not coming off. And so all we got to do is just put this end into here, and that thing just goes in there and looks like it just grabs it. So yeah, that's basically the extent of our setup here. And so you can see how our Z-axis can travel. And I think Mosaic has a lot of different brackets that you can print out according to your printer. So if there's any useful things like that that's available, I'll try to leave the links in the description. So essentially this is what my setup will look like. I have the spool holders here, and then the filaments will feed into the pallet. Then the pallet will splice them and then spit them out into the extruder of the printer, and then the extruder will pull them in and print it. So that's the theory, and that should be pretty simple. Once you get it all set up, you know, then you just do the rest in the software, put it on SD card, and you're good to go. So before we turn this thing on and load it up and all that stuff, let's go ahead and try to get our file ready in the Canvas software. All right, guys, so here we are at the Mosaic website, where we have selected the canvas in the options here, and what we're going to do is we're going to get started. So right now it looks like it's free to start, and then, you know, they're going to have some pretty cool tools coming up where you can, I guess, subscribe to maybe or buy additional features. So but in any case, right now anyone should be able to get started here. So what we're going to do is need to register for a new account. So I'm going to fill all this in and then we'll continue. So here it's asking us what exactly do we have, and we have the pallet 2. So I'm not using the included canvas hub right now because I'm not sure exactly how that works. So we're just going to leave that out for now. Okay, so right here it looks like it's asking us that we need to update the firmware on the pallet, or at least, you know, make sure that it's the latest one. So it wants us to hook it up to the computer and turn it on. Alright, so since they want us to connect the pallet, that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to use the provided cable here. So on the side here we can see one of the connectors there is a micro USB plug. So let's see what happens if we power it on. We'll go ahead and do that. Alright, so it says new firmware is available. Instructions. Interesting. Even the pallet itself knows that there's a new firmware. Okay, so it wants us to visit a website. So let's go ahead and go back to the computer here. And I'm going to click next on the firmware here. So here it kind of tells us to follow some guide and the instructions. Okay, so it looks like we probably need to visit another link here to get to the thing. So, alright, so I went to the provided link and this is where I ended up. But I just typed in the link that was right here on the palette that says to go here. So here we are, and I guess we need to, here it kind of gives the instructions how to update the firmware. So it says here to connect the USB cable. We did that. So I guess we have to download some kind of installer. I guess we will do that here. We got a Mac OS. Okay, here we go. So we have the update firmware right here. So we're going to click next. We got the USB connected. Install latest. Okay, it says not to unplug it. Alright, so it looks like it found it because the screen here turned off completely. So it must be updating right now. Alright, so it looks like we have success over here on the firmware updater. So I guess we're done here, and over here we have welcome to pallet 2. So let's go ahead and click next over here. Okay, so we can go through the, I guess let's go ahead and do this, and then we'll go back to the slicer. But it's basically asking us which tube are we using, the longer or the smaller one. So we're using the small one, so we're going to click on that. So it says onboarding complete. Alright, so it looks like we have a main menu. So I guess there's not too much to do there. So it looks like it says start print, controls, print modes, settings, and help. So we're going to exit out this update firmware now. And let's go back to Canvas. And here's where we can start a new project. So let's go ahead and slice something, that way we can start printing. So Canvas looks like is in beta, so things might not go 100% smooth, but that's understandable. So let's click on new project here. Choose your printer, create a new profile, or choose from printer presets. Let's see what this is all about, or import from a different slicer. Okay, so let's just go with this one. Alright, so here you can choose. We have a Creality, CR10S, close enough. I wonder if we're able to adjust. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We can adjust a bunch of stuff right here. So I'm thinking, does this apply to the Ender 3 or not? I guess it probably does. Okay, so as we click on these things, so we have general here, so we have layer height. Let's change this to 0.16. That's the preferred layer height for me. I think I usually like 3 parameters. So as you can see, guys, you can go through here and do the fine tuning for your printer. So I'm not sure exactly. I guess you can adjust all this for the transition. We'll just leave it the way it is for now. Alright, so all this looks pretty good, I guess. So it doesn't really ask you for any kind of size of the bed or anything. So we're just going to put Ender 3 here. Just going to put 1.6 medium. So we're gonna save that and we're gonna roll with it. So we need to do either a single material or a multi-material model. But honestly, I don't think I even have a multi-material model. So this is all kind of new and alien-ish to me. So let's just type in here in Thingiverse, multicolor, and we'll go to popular. And here we have a few multicolors to print. And actually Mosaic has their own thing. So maybe let's go check out what they got, because they probably got the stuff. 155 designs. Okay, yeah. Okay, so they have quite a few things here that we can try out. I guess we could do their keychain, but I think everyone just about does that. Oh, that fish is super cute. The dory fish. Kind of don't want to make a huge print like that on the first print. I'm kind of digging this earth. Quite a few colors here. So I'm guessing the way this works is that the model is designed in different pieces here. Let's go ahead and download this thing. So we're just going to download the files. Let's go back to Canvas and upload the files we just downloaded. Obviously we need to unzip them first. So once we unzip it, here they are. So we're going to select all of them, I'm guessing, and open. So let's see if Canvas will put them all together by itself. Alright, so it did. Look at that. Pretty cool. So this is what our slicer looks like. And if we go, let's see if I can get closer here. So if we touch this different parts, we can see that they highlight. So Iceland there is actually, or whatever that is, the North Pole part is actually a different piece. So we can make that white, and then the waters we can make obviously blue, and then this we can make some kind of other color. And here on the side we can see the individual parts that are already labeled. So we have base, land, snow, water. Pretty cool. Okay, so we can subtract the certain pieces. Well, that's pretty awesome. So on the top here, it looks like we have, you know, the things we need to do. Looks like we're on the CR10 here on the bed platform, I'm guessing. That's the size of it. So I guess here we can edit. So we can edit printer. Okay, so here we can edit the size of the printer. Alright. So we didn't do this before. I guess I missed this step, but I guess we can make this into a Ender 3 size bed. Alright, so I think the rest of it should be, you know, about the same. Wait, can we edit the name? Okay, we can edit the name. Just call it Ender 3. Boom. Save. Alright, so we're back at our project, and we can see since we changed the bed, our globe went to the side here. So you definitely want to do that. You want to adjust your bed size. So we have to click on group there to select all of it. And now we're able to move it around as a whole. So I'm just going to leave it about right there. Alright, so there's kind of a lot of stuff going on. I mean, a lot of this is basics. If you ever used, you know, a slicer, this is, you know, you can probably figure this out pretty quick. Not too difficult here. Let's move on to our next part. So we have place. So we've got the place figured out. Our printer is set. Let's go to color. So now we can paint this water. So obviously we have blue, so we can see these 4 colors that we have. So I'm guessing this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 1 would be blue, and we'll paint the water blue. So here we don't need red because we're going to use this for white, and it will be PLA. So as you can click on these, you can see that that's the default material there. So I guess you can do multi-material, which actually makes this extremely unique. So let's paint our glacier here white. Anyway, so we have our water blue, our top part there white. So I guess we'll use this green color, PLA default, for the land. And then the base we will make, let's see, I guess let's make it silver or gray. That should look pretty good. And there we go. So I should have all these colors, but obviously the green I think is a little different. But let's just roll with it since it's our first print. So now we're going to go to settings. Okay, so here in the settings we get to adjust everything again, whatever we want. So since we set all our parameters on the last one. Alright, so I guess next we're going to click preview. Alright, so it's slicing, and it's actually taking a little bit of time, but not that bad. I think it's only been not even a minute. Alright, well that's a pretty huge tower there. So basically this shows us, you know, what's going to happen with with our build there. So I think this looks okay to me, honestly. Since this is our first print, I'm not going to be too picky on what to do or change. So here we have a summary. Wow, it's going to take 16 hours to print this. I'm thinking maybe the color changing is too many times on this globe. I should have probably picked something more simple. You know, this is a realistic print here that I think would definitely be a interesting one for sure. So here it says the total splices is 368 and total pings is 139. So I guess we're done here. So now what we need to do is we need to click this download button here on the bottom. Oh wait, I forgot, but here we have preview of the layers. So we're gonna click download. So it's gonna make a zip file and we're gonna save it. So here it shows you how to print. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need either 2 SD cards, one for your printer, one for the pallet, or you know, if you're going to connect your computer, you know, to your printer, then you can do it like that. But I'm going to just go ahead and do it off of 2 SD cards. And so here it kind of guides us through the steps of how to do it. So here's the 2 files that we made from Canvas, and we're going to put this one into the printer. So these are 2 different files for 2 different things. One is for the printer, one is for the pallet too. So the one that says MAF is for pallet. So we're going to take the included SD card with the pallet and put this file on it. And then we're going to take our, you know, USB drive or micro SD card or whatever you have on your printer and put this file in there, just a normal G-code file. All right, so I put the file on the SD card and inserted it here that came with the pallet. And I also put the G-code file into the micro SD card here and into the printer. So let's see if we can figure out how to get all this stuff going. So let's go ahead and click Start Print. So I guess maybe we need to click on the SD card here. Okay, so we have base. That's what our file is called. We'll click on that. It says Initializing Palette. Okay, since this is our first time, it's saying that, you know, this is going to be a little different because it's the first, and then, you know, normal. So let's go ahead and click Next. So here it says Clear Output. Remove the tube out of the filament. So let's go ahead and take this cover off so we can see a little better. So if we remove the tube, we can see that we don't have any filament in there. Okay, so now it's waiting for, I guess I'm going to stick this back in there. It's waiting for blue filament. So it wants the blue filament. So I haven't loaded my filament, so I guess I should have done that first. So I'm going to go ahead and load up my filaments here on this rack. Alright, so we got our 4 colors, blue, white, green, and gray. So it's asking us to feed the blue filament in number 1. Which is over here, and it actually gives you a little light indicating which one. So there should be a little hole here, okay, and you can see, hopefully, and I'm sticking it in there. Okay, grabbed it. So it's grabbed the filament and it's pulling it in. Alright, so it knows it has that one. Okay, now it's asking for white filament. So let's go ahead and feed it the white filament right over here. I'm a little worried about this white filament because it's quite fragile. It kind of breaks when it bends. But let's just go with it, and hopefully we're not going to have any issues. There it goes. Okay, so now it wants the green filament. There goes the green filament. So pulled it in and then pushed it back. Same thing for our gray here. There it goes. Alright, so it's actually doing some kind of splicing or something. I can see stuff moving. Alright, so the filament's going around in a circle, looks like. Since gray is the first one, I guess that's what it picked up here. And I can see it's pushing it all the way around. A fan turned out. I can feel something blowing pretty hard. So we can see the filament traveling in a circle there. And it's actually going through the tube. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's going through the tube right now. So right now it's asking us to heat the extruder on the printer. Alright, so we started the Ender 3 here. And it's asked us to preheat. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm a little confused why or what this step is for. Load clear or lightly colored filament until color is fully changed. So I'm not sure, but in any case, our filament here stopped right at the end and it's practically going into the extruder right now, but not quite there. So it looks like we're up to temperature. Let's just click next and see what happens. Okay, it's asking to feed the filament into the extruder. So I couldn't really show you because I need 2 hands, but what I did was I pulled the tube out and fed the filament, you know, until it was in the extruder here so the printer can pull it. So now that we're there, we can click next. So it's asking to clip the guide tube back in, which we did. Okay, so right now what we're doing is we're waiting for our gray filament to come out of here. And the second it starts coming out, we need to press next. So So that's what we're going to be doing. So, and I'm guessing we do that on the printer side, not over there, because, you know, this has to pull it in. So we're just going to use this knob here to feed it down until we start seeing gray filament. As I'm pulling the filament, this thing is adding to it as I pull it. So we're basically waiting for gray filament to come out. Alright, so we got black, and there's gray. So we're just going to stop it at that and click next. So now it's asking us to make sure we got everything done. We got filament loaded, tube clipped in, and we stopped it immediately when the color appeared. I think pretty immediate, maybe not too immediate. So we're just going to click save. So now we can start the printer and we'll be done. So now it's waiting for us to start. So once the printer starts pulling in the filament, the pallet 2 is going to do the rest of the job of sending the filament and the type of filament that the printer needs. So the bottom line here is the printer still works the same way. The pallet just makes all the filament for the printer. And because the pallet knows the distance between here and then the distance to here, it should be quite accurate. We might have messed up a little bit on the purging here, you know, but that's okay. We'll see how it turns out. So we need a print from SD card. What we're looking for, that's the globe. Now we're just gonna wait till this thing preheats and it should start printing. This is definitely very interesting here. Quite a unique process going on here. And it's starting to print. So I think it's purging right now. Okay, there it goes. So it looks like it built a skirt around the model, and now it's doing the print. So it looks like we're off to a good start. Let's see what's going on over here. So I can see that it's pulling the filament through. So this is kind of like the buffer zone here. As it gets smaller, it adds more. Okay, so it's making the purge box. Alright guys, so it looks like it's doing fine. And I got the GoPro on there. So hopefully we can capture the time lapse of this thing. Right now it's just printing gray and building that purge block there. So, but you can see it's doing quite good. So I think there is a little bit of settings maybe that needs to be played with the for the printer on the slicer and the G code, because it seems to be sometimes doing a little bit of weird things like going to sleep and all that other stuff. But overall it's been doing really good and it's printing. So once it starts changing color, I'm going to try to record that. You know, we'll see how that happens here on the pallet too. But for now we've just been taking the gray filament in, and what I've noticed is it keeps pulling it until it hits, there's a little switch right here, and it's getting really close to it right now. So once it hits that switch, it adds more to the buffer. You'll see in a second. So it should be hitting it here. Alright, so it hit it, and it just adds to the buffer. So it just waits till it gets to the switch, then it adds it. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, so far so good. Everything seems to be working together, which is definitely quite unique. So initially here, the startup wasn't too hard. You definitely need a little bit of patience because it's, you know, kind of a little bit tedious when you use something for the first time. But overall, I would say everything was quite straightforward so far. The directions are quite well and technically not too difficult to use, but could be a little bit overwhelming if it's your first time 3D printing. So, you know, get to know your printer first, I would say, pretty well, and how to slice stuff, you know, before you get into something like this. But you kind of have to know a little bit about what's going on. But there's a lot of great videos and tutorials of how to use, you know, the pallet 2, and obviously a bunch of tutorials on the Ender 3. So it's definitely a great time to get into 3D printing, and there's plenty of information out there. So, alright, I think it just started taking the blue filament in because you can see it feed in here now. So I think it's splicing it. So we should probably start seeing the blue filament coming out. So here on the screen we can see that it did one splice out of 368 so far. So the blue is definitely going through. I can see the splice about right there. Okay, so it looks like it's doing another splice. Okay, so it's splicing green with the blue now. You can see the green coming in. So I think right now it's heating it and splicing it. And the fan actually turns off for a moment there when it's splicing. Wow, that's really cool. So there we can see we got 2 splices total. So by the time we get to the blue though, it has to go all the way from here through the tube, through the nozzle, and then the blue will start. So it obviously already calculated that in advance when the blue needs to start. Then shortly after that, the green will go. So once it starts printing out the nozzle, we're gonna check it out. But so far the splice core is working great, seems like, and it's splicing our filament together. Hopefully you can see a little closer there how well it's spliced. Seems like it's melted together really nicely. Definitely there's a penalty for printing like this. You do kind of waste quite a bit of filament. So I don't know if this was the best model to pick here, but in any case, if this is successful, then I think, you know, we'll have the confidence to print anything else. Alright guys, as you can see, we are printing in colors now. So we're intersecting between blue and green, and the pallet 2 is splicing and has done 16 splices so far. Before you guys can see, it's starting to look pretty good. Definitely quite interesting how it's all going. So we spliced 133 splices so far. It looks like we're about a third of the way there. Well, let's see what kind of options we have here. So we have preferences and statistics. Let's go to preferences. Alright, so I'm not sure exactly what that means. Ping offsets and pong offsets. And then we have preferences here. So the tube, run out detection, splice to next drive. That's cool. File source. Rotate the screen, printer profiles, factory reset. Yeah, and the Ender 3 here is doing quite a good job of making good quality print. The globe is starting to look really nice. Alright, so it's been a painful 17 hours and 47 minutes with 368 slices later. This is what we have. So we have a little globe that actually turned out quite well, looks like. Nothing, you know, broke. The filament never broke. The pallet 2 spliced everything like it was supposed to. And actually here, if we look at it, we can see that all the filament has retracted and everything is cleaned up. There's no filament anywhere in here, and there's no filament in the tube either. It literally calculated it to the very edge over there. You can see that little white piece right there. That's the last piece of it. It's literally, I don't know how much that is, a couple millimeters, 2-3 millimeters, and that's all it could push. And so our machine is ready for our next print. So we just got to figure out how to pull the filament out of here, and then here we can just back up the piece and pull that out quite easy. So yeah, so overall the operating experience has been very well and not troublesome at all. And I can see already that the quality is very good, and that's thanks to the Ender 3, obviously. I'm just so amazed that this purge block is quite large. Alright, so since we have a magnetic mat, we should be able to... Wow, that is a huge purge block, and it's actually quite heavy. I didn't realize that we actually use that much. So here on the pallet, you can see the length that we used was 48.8 meters, and that's a lot of filament. That popped off easily. Overall, just from a little distance here, it looks very nice. And our white piece here on the top kind of messed up a little bit, and it's actually got a little bit of color bleed. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's like a little bit of green going on the white. And I actually have a little bit of color bleed on the blue. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but there's a little bit of bleed right here. So the nozzle, for some reason, did not completely clean itself out. But man, that's, yeah, this is definitely heavier than this. I think so, yeah, it is. So we used more to purge the nozzle than we did for the actual model. So all these details here, as you can see, you know, they're quite fine. And if it was larger, they would be a lot more better quality, I would think so. So let's see what happens when we push finish on the screen here. So it all turns off, or at least the lights here, but the screen is obviously still on. So let's see if, before I couldn't pull this out, let's see if this pulls out still. No. So there's got to be a way to release the filament. Okay, so if we go to the controls here, we have filament, motion, and clear out. What does clear out mean? Let's push that. Clearing out. Okay, it's pushing out. Okay, so the white came out, the green came out, the gray did not come out, and the blue did not come out. So I guess we need another clear out maybe. Let's see if that works. Okay. So yeah, that's working. I guess a couple of clear outs will clear out the filament. So it just keeps pushing them out. So there's a few options here that are definitely interesting. Okay, so here's something interesting. You can actually do single color from file, multi-spool, pattern, random, or even gradient. So you can put in the filaments and do,
Okay, so here it'll do a gradient between 1 and 2, you know, slowly changing it. Okay, so this will do 4 colors of random, I guess. Okay, so you can use 4 spools to do 1 print if it was large enough, and it would switch to the next filament. So I guess you can choose patterns. Let's see what we can look next. Okay, so here it kind of lets you input the pattern style, and we obviously have a single color here. So here we also have settings, our version and everything here. Splice tuning, so quite intuitive. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set up for the next print. I think this video is already becoming quite lengthy. So I'm going to try to print out some unique items here, and I might use some of the print modes there. And I'll try to catch a few glimpses here of some of the processes. What we're going to try to do is we're just going to initialize some random print here on the print. I think I'm just going to do something simple. Maybe we can do a benchy. That should be interesting. Yeah, so we'll just do a benchy on this guy, and you know, we'll print these 4 random different colors, and we'll see what that turns out to be like. So it made a length long enough of random colors here to come out the tube there. So we're simply just gonna pull some of it out here, and then we're gonna feed it through our extruder here and into the hot end. Alright, so I pushed it through until it purged out, and it's coming out red now. So as I was pulling this through, it had to, you know, keep making the splices. So I had to wait for it a few times till it was done, you know, to get the length all the way down in here. So we're ready to start the print. So the printer should basically work like it normally does, and this thing will feed it random colors. And one of the things I need to mention is that in this mode, you use your, let's say, because I'm using Cura for my slicer, so we're still using our Cura settings, but we're using the palette strictly just for randomizing the colors, because the globe was sliced completely in the palette for both of the machines. So we're printing red there on the first part. So this thing just keeps splicing and making new colors every 15 centimeters or so, something like that. So I'll give you guys an update here in a little bit after it prints some more. But so far I'm really enjoying the palette too. It's quite nice. Once you get used to it, it seems quite straightforward, everything that it does. So, you know, we're definitely going to have to get used to the canvas slicer. But so far my experience has been very nice with this thing. So this is a premium product, obviously, and it costs more than, you know, these budget printers even. But, you know, you get premium results. You know, where else can you print like that without, you know, having a crazy setup over here? So palette is definitely after the color printing market, and it seems like they're doing a great job with the palette too here. Oh, look at that, it looks like a candy bar, or one of those candy cane bars. Super cool looking. Alright, so I've been printing my heart away with this thing, and I'm going to show you guys all the models that I printed, and some of them turned out really nice. But the last model I wanted to print for you guys is not churning out, and so this Dory model, so this is the first model that I printed, and this one failed because the filament broke as it was being made in there. And so then I set up a second model, and it got quite far. As you can see, that's about halfway of Dory there, and it's quite large model. It's supposed to be pretty awesome, but you know, look at that huge purge block. That is humongous. And this one also failed, and the failure for this was because the 2 filaments here, you can see when they spliced, it was so thin that whenever it got to the gear here, it basically fell in that dip and, you know, didn't go through all the way. So unfortunately, that's what caused the failure of this one, and I don't want to start another one. Not only am I wasting a ton of material here, but the probability of failure is kind of high because of the filament that I'm using, and most of this filament here, you see guys, is really cheap, and I think this is one of my issues. So I either have breaks or, you know, issues like that. So I'm not sure if that was the pallet's fault or just the filament. I'm gonna blame the filament for sure. And by the way guys, this Dory print is over 25 hours or so total, so it's quite a long print. And you know, just printing these 2 pieces here has probably been almost a whole day, so meaning like about 24 hours or so. So it's quite an intensive print. In any case, I'm going to clean everything up, and then I'm going to show you guys the models I printed. Some of them turned out beautiful. And I'm going to tell you guys what I love about the palette and some of the things that to watch out for, or to understand at least if you're wanting to get one, what you're getting yourself into. Alright guys, so here's my final thoughts on the palette 2. So I kind of organized here a little bit. So I've had good prints and I've had failures obviously, and quite a few of them. And I think the biggest problem was my filament, and all the failures that I have had to do with that. So filament that was cracking, because you know, it has to go through a few things here. The filament has to bend in a circle
this big. If it can't bend in a circle this big and cracks, you know, it's not gonna work here. So it'll fail eventually because there's a circle right here and it's got to be able to do this size circle here. So you guys seen this globe here that I did, and this thing is, you know, quite nice. So we saw this up close. So the next thing I printed after that was actually benchies. And here's a really nice benchy. And this is a mode called random in the settings here, under the print modes here. And there's one that's called random, and this is what you get. You put in the filament in the inputs here, and you know, it randomly decides between a couple parameters of, you know, how long and how many times. So, and it's quite an attractive looking print. And honestly guys, after printing a bunch of stuff, this is probably the most easiest and funnest thing about the palette too. If you weren't gonna do like specific colors like this, where you have to print out a huge purge block with it, but use it for just combining colors, that part is amazing. Like, that works flawlessly. And obviously you're still, you know, vulnerable to filament breaking and whatnot else. But you guys can see how nice the layers there, they flow with different filaments. So the benchy is pretty much excellent. And it just makes the benchy look so much better than a normal benchy. It's not even funny. It's, you know, a little harder to tell the quality, but you know, it's Ender 3 quality. It's very nice. But I have another benchy here, which failed because the filament broke between this blue and whatever color was next, and so, you know, it stopped at that. So all of my failures were filament breaking. So this was also in random mode, which is very nice. So you can see, even though we had the same colors, you know, you get quite different results because of the random. So it's quite cool. If you print in random, you can get a different benchy every time, even with the same filament. And here's another one that failed really early. Also a very nice look. And I definitely really like that mode. So here's another benchy, and this one didn't fail, but this one uses two colors and it's called gradient. So we have yellow and white. So what it does is it starts with the first color and it slowly adds the white, and then, you know, pretty much purely white towards the top. So it's kind of like a gradient from more to less. And you can adjust the amount of filament that it takes, so the gradient could be quicker or slower. So after having fun with that, I decided to print something really complicated. And that's where this dog came in. And as you can see, he's definitely not perfect. So the crazy thing about this dog is that it has different filaments in it. This brown color that you see is actually the wood filament, the Hatchbox wood filament. And then we got white PLA and black PLA mixed in. So it was doing pretty good overall, you know, and then I guess something was corrupted in the file here, so it kind of made it all backwards. And then if we go up higher and higher, we can see that our nose turned out quite well, but we do have bleeding. So the purge block didn't purge good enough, and we ended up getting black into the wood. Same thing for his eyes. But once we got past the little black parts, it was fine again. So, and then we got to the black here, and you know, we have bleed of color there. So this is probably a user issue because I don't know very well how to adjust all those parameters. So if you can dial it in, you know, you can obviously make that perfect. But in any case, this is the dog that I got. So it can do different kinds of filament like TPU, PETG, you know, and I'm not sure if it can do ABS, maybe. You know, you can mix all those and slice it where the printer would adjust to the temperatures as needed for the print. So this dog was actually, when it was printing wood, it went down to 180, and then when it was printing PLA, it was 200. So that's quite unique what you can do with the canvas slicer and the palette too, of printing unique materials together. So here's the purge block from the dog, and it's huge, guys. I mean, it's monstrous. So as you can see, that issue with printing color like this is that you have a lot of waste material, which is unfortunate, but you know, that's the process. And even though, you know, I still have bleeds here, and I have a feeling maybe that has to do something with my calibration. So after the dog, I wanted to do something a little bit more fun. I printed more random stuff, but I wanted to print it in spiralized mode. And so this is a vase that did not complete because, again, my filament broke inside here, and you know, it stopped. But if you can see the colors, it's quite unique. So I really love the random option. So after this one, I did print another one, and as you can see, they're completely different. So if you print multiple in random, each one will be quite different. And you know, this one finished without breaking anything, and it looks phenomenal. Like, I absolutely love this style of prints here, guys. This is so cool, and you can match materials colors, whatever, all in one. Quite cool. So when you do random printing like this, you don't get any purge blocks or anything, so you have very minimal waste and it's very quick to print, just like you would print a normal print. So after printing in spiralized mode, the next thing I printed was the best item that I got, which is this Mario cube thing, and it turned out phenomenal. It's beautiful. So we have orange and we have white, and the combinations here just work so well together, and there was no issues with this print whatsoever. It's literally perfect. You can see how good the white and the orange is, and there's no bleeding or nothing. So, you know, the settings for this was ideal to have a perfect print like this. So after I saw this thing, I was quite happy to know that it's possible. You just have to figure out, you know, the right settings for the print job. And it all has to do with, I think, the transition tower. So if you're, you know, if your transition tower is not correct, I think this is where I have the issues of, you know, bleeding of colors into the other. So the last print was supposed to be like the awesome print, and this is where the dory comes in here. So this is the first dory I tried to print. You can see, guys, that this thing has a lot of bleed also into the colors, and here's the purge block for it. So this is what the supports look like on the canvas slicer. They actually pop off quite easy. By the way, all the rest of the prints you see here are 0.16 layer height, and dory was the only one that was 0.2. And the reason I made it 0.2 was because, you know, it would take forever to print this, because this was already such a long print. And obviously, you know, all the support settings and all that, you know, need to be figured out for sure also. But here we can see we have a black fin with a yellow body and then a blue body. And, you know, there's definitely a little bit of color bleeding here in between, especially in that yellow there. So kind of looks more like green. So I was kind of discouraged about this thing, and so I started another one, which I haven't even took off the bed yet. And so this one didn't finish printing either, but it did get to the eyes. You can see the eyes, and it did do the mouth. Let's see if we can see it. Okay, so it needs a little bit of cleaning up here. Now, there's supports in the mouth, but the mouth is supposed to be white. But you can see here that the white here is bleeding like crazy between the yellow and the blue or whatever. So it's definitely not calibrated correctly. So, you know, and here's our purge block, which is ridiculous, guys. This is so heavy. There's so much filament in here, it's not even funny. Like, this thing is solid. So you can tell that, you know, the negative about printing color like this is going to be generating those large purge blocks. So you have to purge so much material, you have quite a large waste, which technically could not be a deal for someone that needs, you know, something nice. But, you know, for something like this, I didn't even show the purge block for it, but actually I did have an issue. My purge block fell off, so I had to build something here, and I just used tape to start another one on top of that. And yeah, it actually worked, because I was trying to save this thing, and I'm so glad I did, because, you know, we have this amazing print here. But, you know, for something like this, it's worth it, you know. And if you don't use I think if you use too many colors, the purge block just becomes too saturated, because you can see how small this purge block is compared to the purge block on, you know, dory, or even this earth here is quite large, or even the dog here. So in any case, you know, you can get really nice prints. And this really shows, you know, what palette 2 here is capable of. But to be completely honest, my favorite part about the palette is the random gradient and other modes that it has here. And then they even have a pattern mode. And also you can use your palette here to splice filament together. So if you were running out of a spool, you know, it could grab the next spool. Or you can have quite a large reserve to print a very large print if you wanted to use it for that. So overall, I would say the palette 2 is quite an amazing machine, and it definitely does the job. It never failed on any of these prints, and it's been on for day in and day out ever since I got it. So overall, guys, this is my results with the palette 2. I'm definitely excited to keep using it, and you're definitely going to see a lot more prints like this coming out of my printer, because I really enjoyed this, and then you can mix up colors and really make unique little prints. So, and it's, I mean, just looking at the benchy and how fun it is compared to a normal benchy, you know, it really adds flavor to the, you know, somewhat boring, you know, just muted colors that you're always used to printing in. So I would say the palette 2 is quite easy to use, and the setup is easy, you know, and once you set it all up, the canvas slicer online, also very intuitive and quite easy to use. So everything is quite straightforward, so anyone should be able to grab one of these and use it. with no issues. So if you want to print color, this is definitely probably the best option that you have. And not only that, they're going to improve their slicer where, you know, you'll have more functions to be able to print colors on normal models, and you're not going to need specific multicolor models. So I'm pretty excited to see what Mosaic is going to do in the future. For now, we have the Pallet 2, and they also do have the Pallet Pro if you want a Pro version. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it was pretty informative. If you want to get a Pallet 2 for yourself, I'll leave some links in the description, so check that out. I will have an update video with my experiences and just an update on the functions and things like that, and maybe there's other unique things that I missed here that this machine can do. Alright guys, so if you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this and other things I do on this channel, I have a lot of 3D printing videos, so check those out. And also, there's a lot more stuff to come. So if you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe button. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.